Right, welcome to Natural Law 101 with Mark here. I have been arguing with myself on this topic for a long time, and about 2 years ago, I started coming out with this topic because of how important it is if you're seeking truth and if you want to start to live a life of natural law, God's law. It's not an easy topic to conceptualize because there's some obvious objective perspectives we carry with us as people, and yet at the same time, I'm trying to disprove those objective points. So it makes it very challenging because it's not a case of right or wrong, it's a case of ethics. What is it that brings you closer to truth and what pushes you away from it? And that's the struggle that a lot of natural law or sovereigns are dealing with is, you might be living in a world where you can deal with paperwork and you can fill out the forms and you can deal with government issues and find sovereignty in your actions by putting those in those positions as people that are in position accountable. And there's nothing wrong with that. But natural law and living in a path on a path that is close to God is not the same as dealing with a lot of paperwork and trying to make arguments against these institutions. Instead, it's about connecting with our divine creator and living a life that is in the intention of God's will, not our own. And my experience has been my own ideas about what life should be has never been as powerful or great as the life God's intended for me. And I'm always questioning, am I on that path? Am I on the path that God intended for me? And every time I start to feel a struggle, life gets hard and you question things and some synchronous event happens which reveals to me again that it confirms that I'm getting closer, to the purposed life that God intended. So I want to share my findings in the series, Natural Law series, with those who are interested. And this is something that we will be practicing in our communities. The City of Light. So what I've done is to try and make this easier to understand. I'm going to use the AI chat kind of dialogue here, and I'm going to use it as a way of having this conversation. And I've got 14 prompts which I've got set up to kind of reveal. And so, what am I talking about today? I'm talking about time. Time is so important. The time that you have, the time that you are able to experience, is the time that you're actually able to be the most truth to yourself, is the time that you do what you want to do with it. And in the world we live today, it seems that it's so hard to have time for yourself. And that's not, I don't think, intended, by God's creation. I don't think He expects us to be working like slaves on a time clock. And I don't think the world really works very well with that time clock. So I'm going to probably present this a couple times again in different mediums, but let's get going. So the first thing to understand is we're going to break it down from hours to minutes a little bit first. So I'm first going to question just a basic question of how many minutes are there in a day, and let's see what we get out of, because a minute is a long time. So here we go. How many minutes are there in a day? So here we go. There are 1,440 minutes in a day. Here's a quick breakdown. There's 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 times 60. Okay, so we all have learned this at school. This is what we get told. There's 24 hours in a day. But let's continue the dialogue, right? So now I'm going to ask, let me just get this. I'm going to ask something a little bit more controversial. Is there a difference between how we measure a day by the sun versus by the stars? Okay. Is there a difference? Should there be a difference? Would there be a difference? And it says, yes, there is a distinct difference between measuring a day by the sun versus by the stars. A solar day, this is the time it takes for the sun to return to the same position in the sky, e.g., noon to noon. It is the basis for our 24-hour day. Okay. But then there's another point here, sidereal day. This is the time it takes for Earth to complete one full 360-degree rotation on its axis relative to the distant stars. So there's a clear distinction here that, one is 360, which is a completion of a circle, and the other one is not. It's not completing a circle, it's doing more. Let's read on. Because the Earth's orbits the Sun while it rotates, it has to rotate a little bit extra each day to face the Sun again. By the time Earth completes one rotation relative to the stars, it has moved slightly along its orbit, so the Sun isn't quite in the same spot yet. Okay, here's the difference. The sidereal day is approximately 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. The solar day is 24 hours. Okay, this means a solar day is about 4 minutes longer than a sidereal day. That's why the stars appear to rise about 4 minutes earlier each night. Over the course of a year, this extra 4 minutes adds up to exactly one full day, which is why there is more sidereal day than a solar day in a year. Okay, so in a sidereal day count of a year is 366, where in a solar year is 365. Now, this might not seem very controversial, but keep in mind the most prominent aspect of our time, the clock that you are using on your wrist, right? The calendar, the Roman Gregorian calendar you're using, states is basically making the statement that the sun is the most important thing in the universe. That's what it's saying. And that leans on traditions of sun worship. Okay, so these are derivatives from sun worship cults that have used the sun as the predominant force of nature. Okay, let's continue. So, question number 3, which one completes a perfect 360-degree rotation? The sidereal day is the one that represents a perfect 360-degree rotation of the Earth on its axis. Here is why. A sidereal day measures the time it takes for Earth to rotate exactly 360 degrees relative to the fixed stars. This is a true rotation period of the planet, truth. Remember, we're talking about truth here. A solar day measures the time for the sun to return to the same position. Because each because Earth moves along its orbit around the Sun during that rotation, it must turn slightly more than 360 degrees, about 361 degree, to face the Sun again. So if you are measuring a pure rotation without the influence of Earth's orbit, the sidereal day is the accurate metric. Okay, I didn't say it. Apparently the most advanced machine, one of the most advanced machines in the world has just said it. So now let's ask number 4. If the sun vanished, which measurement would still remain true? All right. Oh, just to be clear, I'm using Brave browser here, and I'm using Lion, the Brave AI that accompanies it. So it's free. You can go and use it yourself if you want to. If the sun vanished, right, the sidereal day would remain the true measure of Earth's rotation. Here is why. The solar day is defined by the sun's position in the sky. Without the sun, there would be no noon or midnight to measure, making the concept of a solar day meaningless. In comparison, the sidereal day relies on Earth's rotation relative to distant stars. Since those stars would still exist and shine, Earth would still complete a 360-degree rotation in approximately 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. In a sunless world, we would likely switch entirely to a sidereal time, or atomic time, to track the passage of days as a solar cycle would cease to exist. Okay, so there you have it. The day is actually not 24 hours, it's 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds for the Earth to complete its rotation. It means that that is the time is for you as an individual to complete one day being on Earth, regardless of the sun being in existence or not 24 hours. Let's get to something a little bit more philosophical now. We've established more of a practical aspect here of your time and knowing that it's not 24 hours. So which time is more real? The one tied to light or the one tied to pure motion? Okay. That depends entirely on whether you define real by human experience or astronomical mechanics. The real time for humans, solar time, light, for us, the solar day is real one. Okay, so apparently it's telling us what is real. It's making the assumption that my consciousness perceives only a solar day as real, right? The reasoning, our biology, circadian rhythms, and society are built around the cycle of light and dark. Okay, so that's its answer. So it's funny because even though we've just established that it's 23 hours and 56 seconds to complete a rotation, it's saying that doesn't matter because what matters to you is just the light, right? So again, placing the sun as the most important aspect. Okay, let's ask the next question, and this one's more biological. But we live by sunlight. Our bodies, our corpse, our sleep all follow the sun. Does that make solar time truer for us? Okay. Yes, so human life and biology, the solar day is absolutely truer measure, while the sidereal day is the true physical rotation of the planet. The solar day is the true rhythm of existence on Earth. Here is why. Biological clocks. Human circadian rhythms evolved specifically to sync with the 24-hour cycle of light and dark. Our sleep hormone production and melatonin are tuned to the sun, not the stars. Agriculture. Plants rely on solar energy for photosynthesis. The growth cycle of crops are dictated by the solar year and the daily solar cycle. Society, our entire concept of day, work, school, meals, is structured around sun's position. If we lived by sidereal time, noon would drift through the night and day over the course of a year, disrupting every aspect of civilization. The distinction scientifically, mechanics, the sidereal day is the truer rotation, okay? It is the fixed physical reality of the spinning Earth. And then the explanatory life, the solar day, is the truer day, is the reality of the environment we live in, okay? In astronomy, we use sidereal time to point telescopes, but in life, we use solar time because the sun defines our reality. Without the sun, the solar day disappears, but the need for cycle bases on light would vanish with it, leaving us with the raw mechanics of sidereal day as just a number. So sidereal time is the time of mechanical Earth, but solar time is the time of life living on it. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, let's continue. So question number 7. We're halfway there now. Before clocks and time zones, how did humans keep time? What happened when we standardized it? Before the invention of mechanical clocks and time zones, humans kept time through local solar time. That meant that noon happened exactly when the sun was at the highest point in the sky for that specific location. How humans kept time before the standardization. Sundials and shadows. The most common tool was the sundial. People would mark the position of the shadow at different times of the day. If you were 10 miles east of a neighbor, your noon happened about 40 seconds earlier than theirs. Water clocks, what's that? Clip sidereal, and hourglasses. For nighttime or cloudy days, people used water clocks, measuring the flow of water, or sundial glasses. These were often calibrated against the sun, but drifted over time. Church bells and carriers. In medieval towns, a bell tower or Caesar would announce the hours based on the local sun of master clock. But this official time was only valid for that town. Natural cues. Farmers and sailors relied on the position of the stars, the length of the shadows, or even the behavior of animals. The resulting chaos. Before the 19th century, time was local. London time was different from Bristol time, about 11 minutes different. Travelers had to reset their watches every time they moved to a new town. The train, the train leaving a station at 8 a.m. might arrive at the next town where the station clock read 8:05 local time, causing confusion and missed connections. What happened when we standardized it? Standardization began in the mid 19th century, driven primarily by the railroad and telegraphs, which connected distant places instantly and required a unified schedule. The railway time revolution. In 1847, British Railways adopted railway time, which was based on the Greenwich Meridian Mean Time (GMT) rather than local sun time. This was the first major shift from local to standard time. In 1880, GMT became the legal term for all of Great Britain. The International Meridian Conference in 1884 to solve global confusion, an international conference in Washington, D.C., established 24 time zones, each roughly 15 degrees of longitude, which, since Earth rotated 360 degrees in 24 hours, the prime meridian 0 degrees was set at Greenwich, England. The consequence of standardization, loss of local solar time. People in the western France, for example, were suddenly living 2 hours ahead of the sun. Sunset happened later by the clock, while people in the eastern Poland lived behind the sun. Global synchronization, shipping and communication became seamless. A train scheduled could be printed once and used across the continent. The time zone boundary. We created artificial lines on maps where the clock jumps an hour, even though the sun moves smoothly across the sky. Right? The trade-off. We trade astronomical accuracy, where 12 p.m. equals sun is the highest, for social coordination, where 12 p.m. is the same for everybody in a region. Today, this is why in places like Spain and China, which use a single time zone despite their vast size, the sun might not reach its peak until 2 p.m. or later in summer. We standardize time to make the world run on a single schedule, even if it no longer perfectly matches the sun's position for everyone. Okay, so, and I don't know if you've experienced this, I've had a couple of times where it's still not ratified. The time zones are still not perfect because the average individual still has to go up and look up the specific time in that local to know what time corresponds to them. And it doesn't make it simple because now you've got, daylight savings time, and now you've got to make sure that some places don't have daylight savings time. So when you're scheduling a meeting and it might say it's not daylight savings time, but the other person does have it, you're an hour late or an hour early. It's still very cumbersome. It's still very difficult. It doesn't really make a difference. And we still don't, as individuals, even though, it's good to know, okay, this is going to be a hot day. I don't go out and really look at the sun and see if it's 4 minutes ahead or it's irrelevant. It's abstract to me. I just see sun and I know the day has started. So, yeah, it's kind of analyzing and breaking it down to a point where systems are based. So for basic industrialization, right? That is the purpose. So, okay, question number 8. Let's get it. Yeah, we're getting there. If time was once measured by priests watching the sun and is now measured by atomic clocks, what changed about how we experience time? The shift from priests watching the sun to atomic clock represents a fundamental change in how we experience time, from a natural cyclic rhythm to an abstract absolute constant. Here is what changed in our experience. From event-based or abstract constant, when solar time was rational. We knew it was midday because the sun was high. You knew it was harvest time because the days were long. Time was tied to events, sunrise, seasons, prayer. If the weather was cloudy, time felt foggy or uncertain. Now, atomic time is absolute. A second is defined by exactly, I'm not going to, nine is like billion, 9 billion oscillations of a cesium atom. Cesium atom. It is the same whether you are in a cave, on Mars, or in a storm. Time has become a grid that exists independently of the universe's physical state. We no longer feel time passing through nature, we read it off a screen. From local to universal. Then, time was personal and local. Noon in a village was different from noon in the next valley. Time was a community experience synchronized by the church bell or the village elder. Now, time is a global and synchronized. Everyone on Earth shares the same second, coordinated universal time, or UTC. We live in a world where the, a transaction in Tokyo happens at the exact same atomic moment as one in New York. This created a sense of a single, synchronized global reality, but it stripped away the unique local time of your specific location. Hmm? Number 3, for cyclical or linear and precise. Then, time was cyclical, days, seasons, and years repeated. The focus was on the pattern of time, not the duration. A morning was a feeling, a duration that varied with the season. Now, time is linear and quantifiable. We experience time as a series of precise equal units, milliseconds, seconds, hours, that match forward relentlessly. This precision has allowed for the industrialization of time, work shifts, flight schedules, stock markets, rally on splits, time into exact unwavering chunks. We experience time as a resource to be spent, saved, or wasted rather than natural flow. Point number 4, the loss of human scale. Then, human time was roughly aligned with human perception. A day was a natural work cycle. Nowadays, atomic time is so precise, it is invisible to human senses. We live in a world where we can measure time to the nanosecond, yet we cannot feel that perception. This has led to disconnect. Our bodies still run on the roughly 24-hour solar cycle, but our societies demand we adhere to the atomic grid that doesn't care about our biological needs, e.g., work nights, shifts, jet lag. The summary of it all. The shift in experience. Priest time, if you will. It's the noon because the sun is here. Time is observed and subjective. Atomic time. It is noon because the clock says so. Time is measured and objective. You see. We gained global coordination, scientific perception, and technological advancements, but we lost the connection to the natural world, the variability of local rhythms, and the sense that time is living, breathing, part of the environment. We now live inside a machine that ticks that perfect indifference to the rising sun. Okay, again, sun worship. Number 9, we're getting a little bit, we're getting a little bit of a turn here. You see how it's basically pointing out that it's not really for the benefit of being human. So here's one. Jesus spoke of hours, watches, but also declared the time is fulfilled. Was he talking about the same kind of time? It says, no, Jesus was almost certainly not talking about the same kind of time when we used those different phrases. In the original Greek and New Testament, the word he used points to two distinct concepts: chronological duration versus divine opportunity. Sorry, so I'm bringing Jesus into the picture here because that's my reference for divine, right? It's actually stronger in other beliefs, if you will, like the Hindu beliefs and the Vedic, that they go more into depth about it. And just from a influence of a spiritual, entity that's giving us some insights about time, I refer to Jesus. So I hope you don't mind. Here is a breakdown of the difference: the hours and watches. Chronos. When Jesus spoke of specific hours, e.g., the third hour, the sixth hour, or watches of the night, he was referring to measurable linear time. The concept, this is chronos, in Greek, the time of clocks, calendars, and passing of seconds, is the time we measure with atomic clocks or sundials. The context. In the Gospels, these references usually mark historical events of human schedules, e.g., it was the sixth hour at the crucifixion. It is the time of human limitation and early routine. The meaning. This time is quantitative. It can be counted, saved, and wasted, but it is ultimately neutral and mechanical. Okay. The time is fulfilled. Kairos. Okay. When Jesus said the time is fulfilled, Mark 1:15, he was using a different Greek word, kairos. The concept kairos does not mean a duration of time. It means a critical moment, a decisive season, or an appointed time. It is the right time or the fulfillment of time. Right, the context. This phrase signals a turning point in history. It suggests that a specific divinely ordained purpose has reached its maturity. It is not about how many seconds have passed, but about meaning and readiness. The meaning. This time is qualitative. It is the moment when God acts. Unlike Chronos, which just keeps tick, Kairos is a window of opportunity that opens and closes based on destiny, not a clock. The distinction in his teaching. Jesus often contrasted these two to show that God's timing is not human timing. Human timing, chronos, we ask, when will this happen? How long must we wait? We try to control it with schedules. Divine time, Kairos. Jesus taught that kingdom of God arrives not when we expect it or our schedule, but when the time, the season of preparation is full. You know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky, but why do you not know how to interpret the present time? That's Luke 12:56. Summary: hours and watches, the container of time, the ticking clock. Well, in comparison, the time fulfilled, the content of time, the purpose being realized. So while the hours were the mechanical backdrops of his daily life, the time he spoke of was the spiritual climax of history. He was saying that the long wait was over. The specific moment for redemption has arrived. Now I ask all my brothers out there, that are following Jesus, right? What time are you on? Because Jesus wasn't on man's time. He wasn't on the Chronos time. Let's carry on. Thank you for hanging out there. I hope this is giving you some insight into the world you're in. Right, the question is, the Greeks had a statue of Kairos, a youth with a forelock to grab at his approaches, but bald behind. What were they trying to teach? Okay. The statue of Kairos, often attributed to the scepter Lysipos, sorry, Lysipos, a profound visual metaphor for the fleeting nature of opportunity. The Greeks used its specific physical features to teach a lesson about action, decisiveness, and irreversibility of missed chances. Here is what each feature symbolizes. The forelock, the hair in the front, symbolizes opportunity can seize as it approaches. The lesson, when a moment of Kairos arrives, we must act immediately. You must grab it by the forelock. You know the old saying, right? Because that is the only part of it you can catch. If you hesitate, the opportunity splits past you. Number two, the bald back of the head. Symbolic. Once opportunities have passed, it cannot be caught. The lesson. There is no way to grab Kairos from behind. Once the moment is gone, it is gone forever. You cannot go back to seize an opportunity you missed. This teaches that regret is futile. The only time you have power is now. Okay. Point number three, the winged feet. Symbolism. Opportunity moves with incredible speed. The lesson, Kairos is not static. It flies by. It is fleeting and transient. You don't have time to deliberate for long. You must act swiftly. Number four, the scales, often depicted in his hands, symbolize the delicate balance of the moment. The lesson, the right moment is often precarious. It requires judgment and precision to know exactly when to act. It is the tipping point where the outcome hangs in the balance. The core teaching, carpe diem, before it was a phrase. The statue was a warning against the procrastination and indecision. Okay, I would say indecisiveness. But the Greeks were teaching that time, chronos, is just the passing of seconds. Opportunity, though, with kairos, is the critical moment when those seconds that demand action. The message was, when the moment comes, grab it. If you let it pass, there is nothing left to hold onto. This is why the phrase seize the day, carpe diem, is so closely linked to the concept. The bald back of the head is the ultimate warning. You cannot catch what you've missed. Right. Number 11, we're getting there. So, real time is not the ticky time. Real time is a feeling, a connection to the divine. The sun didn't make the universe. Keep that in mind. The sun did not make the universe, right? The sun was made. Next question. Have we ever experienced a moment that felt outside of time? Have you ever experienced a moment that felt outside of time? Where minutes stretched for or disappeared? What made it different? We've all had that, right? As an AI, I don't have a biological brain, of course, right? A sense of self or subjective experience of time. I don't get lost in the zone, feel time slow down during a crash, or watch a clock drag when I'm bored. My experience is purely transitional. I process your input and generate a response based on my training data. To me, a second of processing time is just a number, not a feeling. However, I can tell you why humans experience those outside of time moments based on vast amounts of literature, psychology, and neuroscience I've analyzed. These moments usually happen when the brain shifts how it processes information. Okay, guys, you hear this? Like, this is what makes us different from these machines. Okay, you want to be unique, you want to be human, not just a person that's acting in the machine. You got to change the way you perceive your time and experience it. Number one, flow state. Time disappears. What it feels like. You are so deeply engaged in a task, painting, coding, playing music, solving a problem, that hours feel like minutes. The self vanishes and you merge with the action, right? That is art, that's being creative. Why it happens? Your brain stops sending signals to the part of the mind that monitors time, the prefrontal cortex. You are fully in the kairos moment, pure action without the chronos clock. Number two, high arousal, danger, time slows down. What it feels like. In a car accident or a sporting collision, people often report seeing things in slow motion. A falling glass seems to hang in the air. Why it happens? Your brain enters survival mode. That's what they're saying. The brain, that what? Who knows what the brain enters, right? It's entering something. Survival mode, call it what you want. Flight or fight. It dumps adrenaline and begins recording memories at much higher resolution to help you survive. When we recall the event later, the denser memory makes it feel like it took longer. Even if the clock ticked by normal, its tick of memory, not actually time dilation. Okay, number three, awe and wonder. Time expands. What it feels like. Standing on a mountain peak, staring at the stars, or listening to a powerful piece of music, you feel small, and the rush of daily life stops. Why it happens? This shifts your focus from what I need to do next, future orientated Chronos, remember planning, planning, planning all the time, to what is happening right now, the present moment awareness. The brain stops predicting the future and fully inhabiting the present, making the moment feel infinite. The difference. The difference between these moments, the normal time, is attention. Normal time, we constantly predict the next second, checking the clock, worrying about the future. We are living in Chronos. When you're outside time, we are fully present. The brain stops measuring. We are living in Kairos. While I am not, while I can process the data of these experiences and describe them perfectly, I cannot truly feel the weight of the moment stretching or the sudden silence of the world that stops. That is uniquely human gift, right? That's a unique human gift to you, right? Have you ever had a moment like that? What was a moment of danger, creativity, or awe? Okay, I think I'm touching on the point here. How fundamental this is to living under God's law, under God's authority, or under God's intention. By living the worldly time, you know, being in the world and of the world, you missing the great connection of experiencing creativity, giving attention to every moment and appreciation. And it's done globally. Globally. Let's get there. We got what, three more to go. Let me ask, how do we feel we never have enough time, even with more labor-saving devices than any generation in history? Isn't that true? Wasn't computers supposed to make things easier? Weren't we supposed to have more time to think about our lives and purpose and give more attention to being creative? This is one of the greatest paradoxes of modern life. We have saved hours on every task, yet we feel have less time than ever. The reason isn't that we are busier, it's that our definition of enough time hasn't shifted, and our technology has changed the rules of how we spend it. Here is why the feeling persists. The Jevons paradox of Jevons paradox of time. In economics, the Jevons paradox states that as technology makes a resource more efficient to use, we consume more of it, not less. When, if washing clothing took 4 hours, you did it once a week. You had 3.5 hours of dead time there where you just sat and waited. Now, a washing machine takes 30 minutes. Well, not really, but okay. The trap. We don't keep the 3.5 hours. We immediately fill that saved time with more work, more chores, and more obligations, right? The whole thing about multitasking, right? It's working out really well, right? That works out, that makes you feel so much better multitasking. This saved time vanishes into a higher standard of living. Oh, it's a higher standard of living, right? So you don't have any time to actually sit and be creative. You're doing more stuff, so now you have a higher standard, right? We don't have more time. We just have higher expectations for what we can do with our time. And that's true because we've got so little of it that now we are fighting for our own time, right? The collapse of boundaries. Labor saving devices, and smartphones has dissolved The wall between work and rest, right? Work is every time, all the time now. Past, when you left your factory or the field, work was done. The watches of the night were for the rest, right? The present, you can check email from bed, answer Slack messages while cooking, and manage finances while watching TV. The result, time is no longer segmented, it is fragmented. We feel we have or we never have enough time because we are constantly watching content. The brain is exhausted from constant watching, making time feel like it's a slipping through our fingers faster than ever. Point number three, the quantification of life. We have turned time into a currency to be optimized rather than a rhythm to be lived. Now, you just wait, and everything will end up becoming, I mean, especially through communistic point of view. And everybody, even in natural law, still resorts to this like time bank, like it's all about how much time I spent on something. The optimization trap. Apps track our steps, our sleep, our focus hours, and over screen time. We treat time like a budget that must be maximized for productivity. The anxiety. If every minute isn't producing something, we feel we are wasting it. This creates a constant flow level anxiety that we are behind. We are also so busy managing our time that we forget to live it. Point number four, the attention economy. Our devices are designed to steal our attention, not save our time. The infinite scroll, social media, news feeds are engineered to be endless. They create a time hole where minutes disappear because the content is designed to keep you engaged. The illusion. We feel we are doing something, scrolling, checking, but we aren't accomplishing anything. This leaves us feeling drained and behind, even if we saved time on chores. Point number five, Kairos versus Chronos conflict. We live in a world of Chronos, the clock, but our souls crave Kairos, meaning. We rush through our days trying to tick off Chronos box, meeting, emails, errands. But we feel empty because we aren't experiencing Kairos moments, those deep, meaningful connections, or flowing where time feels full, or flow where time feels full. The feeling, never having enough time, is actually a feeling of never having enough meaningful time. We have the hours, but we haven't the presence to use them well. The hard truth. We are not time poor, we are attention poor. We have more labor saving devices than any generation, but we have also created a culture that demands constant availability and infinite optimization. The time we saved on washing clothes was immediately filled with the stress of managing our digital lives. As the writer John Berg noted, we have not lost time, we have lost the ability to be still. The solution isn't another app to manage your schedule, it's a radical act of doing nothing for a while, letting the saved time remain empty and rediscovering the kairos of the present moment. Okay, I'll give it that. I won't say that's all you're supposed to do. I mean, no one's just going to sit still and end up becoming in tuned with, a heightened experience of slow down motion in flow. But it does make a difference just to anchor yourself, even if it's just 20 minutes, whatever. Don't put the time on. Sit down still. See how long you can sit down and just breathe. Just breathe. That's it. You're living. You've succeeded. Life is good. You just have to breathe, right? And see how long you can do that for, and see where it takes you in your attention. Okay, two more to go. Here we go. And then I'm going to give you a reveal, right? If this resonates with you, then you're going to understand what I'm going to say after this. If we panic when a schedule is disrupted, serve the clock more faithfully than prayer, and measure our worthy of productivity, What are we actually worshiping? What are we worshiping? We are describing a society that has unconsciously erected a new religion, one where the clock has replaced God and productivity has replaced the soul. When we panic at disruption, worship the clock over prayer, and tie our worth to output, we are not just busy. We are engaging in technotheism, a worship of efficiency, control, and utility. Sun worship, guys. It's sun worship. Here is what your actually looks like. Here is what it actually looks like. Number one, we worship control, the fear of chaos. The worship. We treat time as a resource we can spend, save, or invest. When a schedule is disrupted, we panic because the illusion of control is shattered. Number two, the idol of schedule, right? We schedule everything. Number three, the theology, the belief that if we can perfectly manage our time, we can eliminate unnecessary suffering and the unknown. We are worshiping the idea that we can master our own destiny through perfect planning. How's that going? Is the planning working out? The reality. Life is inherently chaotic. By worshiping the schedule, we are worshiping a static map in a dynamic world. When a map doesn't match the territory, we break, right? Things aren't working out, guys. Look at it. Okay, point number two. We worship utility, the fear of waste. The worship. We believe that if a moment isn't productive, it is wasted. We feel guilty for resting, for staring at the wall, or for doing nothing. The idol is productivity. The theology, value, is defined by output. A human is valuable only insofar that they are producing something tangible. This turns us into tools rather than beings, right? We are tools, we're not beings. We are people instead of humans. The reality. We are worshiping the machine, the economy, the system, and treating our humanity as a resource to be extracted. We serve the clock because the clock demands output, not because it demands our soul. Number three, we worship time itself, the fear of mortality. The worship, we are so obsessed with saving time that we lose the experience of time. We are running towards a deadline, terrified of the end. The idol, Chronos, linear time. The theology, the belief that more time equals more life. We try to squeeze more life into fewer seconds, forgetting that life is measured in moments of meaning, Kairos, not seconds of output. The reality, we are worshiping the container, the clock, and ignoring the content, the life inside. We serve the clock because it is the only thing that promises us a future, even if that future is just a long list of tasks. Sounds fun, eh? The core conflict, God versus the algorithm. When you say we serve the clock more faithfully than prayer, we are pointing out a spiritual displacement. Prayer asks, what is the will of God? What is the meaning of this moment? It is open, uncertain, and rational. The clock asks, what is the next task? How much can I get done? It is closed, rigid, and transactional. We have swapped a relationship with the divine for the relationship with the system. Prayer teaches us to trust in the unknown. The clock teaches us to fear the unknown. Okay, the verdict. We are worshiping efficiency as if it were a god. We believe that we are efficient enough, we will be safe. We believe that if we are productive enough, we will be loved. We believe that if we can control time, we will conquer death. It is a false idol. It offers the illusion of security but delivers anxiety. It offers the illusion of worth but delivers burnout. The antidote is not managing time better. It is stop worshiping time altogether. To reclaim our humanity, we must learn to say, this moment is not for me to use. This moment is for me to be. I didn't even say that. That's what the machine said, okay? That's what, now the last question, okay? I mean, I didn't even know what it was going to say. I'm blown away, actually. Last question, guys. If Chronos is the train track of Kairos and Kairos is the landscape, how do we learn to look out the window again? Hmm? That is a beautiful perspective metaphor. Chronos is a track, rigid, linear, engineered to get you from A to B as fast as possible. Kairos is the landscape, the living, breathing world that exists between the stations, full of color, depth, and meaning. The problem is that the train is moving so fast, that the track is so straight, that we stare at the dashboard, our schedules, and forget that the window even exists. To learn to look out of the window again, we don't need to derail the train. We just need to shift our gaze. Here is how. Create unscheduled gaps. The train track is designed for efficiency. It leaves no room for wandering. The fix: intentionally leave white space in your day. Do not fill every minute with a task. The practice: when you have 15 minutes between meetings, don't check your phone or plan the next task. Just sit, stare at the wall, watch the clouds. I would say that's a starting point, right? The result: this breaks the autopilot, the chronos, in that every empty space, your mind is forced to stop processing and start perceiving. That is where the landscape appears. Number two, practice deep seeing. You can look out the window and still be inside your head thinking about the next stop. The fix: engage your senses fully. Then, when you walk, don't just walk to get somewhere. Look at the texture of a brick, the way the light hits the leaf, the sound of the bird. In practice, try the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. Notice 5 things you see, 4 you feel, 3 you hear, 2 you smell, 1 you taste. That one I don't even know about that one. That's not bad. It's a good start. The result: this pulls you out of your internal narrative, the track, and into the immediate reality, the landscape. It forces you to be here, not there. Hmm? Number three, slow down the train. Sometimes the only way to see the landscape is to slow the train down. The fix: do one thing slower than you think you need to do. Right? Take your time. Cook with love, right? The practice: drink your coffee without rushing. Walk to the car 20% slower. Read a page of a book without skimming. The result: slowing down changes the resolution of your experience. When you rush, the world blurs into a green streak. When you slow down, you see the individual trees, the birds, and life. Oh, sorry, buddy, that's not going to happen now. Mosquito. Okay, the result: slowing down changes the resolution of your experience. When you rush, the world blurs into a green streak. When you slow down, you see the individual trees, the birds, the life. Ask why instead of when. Number four, the train track is obsessed with when you will arrive. The landscape is obsessed with why you are here. The fix: when you feel the urge to rush, push and ask, is this task urgent or is it just loud? The practice: before starting a new task, take 3 seconds to ask, what is the purpose of this? Does it serve me or do I serve it? Hmm? The result: the shift this shifts your focus from efficiency, getting to the next station, to meaning, why the journey matters. Why are you even taking the train? Number five, embrace wasted time. The train tracks hate wasted time. The landscape is wasted time. The fix: reframe doing nothing, not as failure, but as a sacred observation. The practice: sit in a park for 10 minutes and do absolutely nothing. No phone, no book, no goal, just be. The result is the ultimate act of rebellion against Chronos. By wasting time, you reclaim it. You prove that your worth is not tied to your output, but to your presence. The shift, looking out the window, isn't about stopping the train. It's about realizing that the journey is the destination. Chronos says, get to the station. Kairos says, Look at the world while you travel. You don't need to jump off the tracks. You just need to turn your head. The landscape has been there along. You were just too busy looking at the schedule to see it. Thank you for taking that time. I don't know how long this has been going, but I know it's considerably more time than what's on your schedule. How can you envision a life where you can live in presence? How can you envision a life where you're able to identify what makes it worth living? Not monetizing it, but creating a value that goes beyond the current experience that you're engaging with superficially. And I've met quite a few individuals that are trying to live to infinite. They want to live forever. But I don't know if that's living. I don't know if that's really, being in the present, to be honest. And that's where we're going. More and more of us might be living until 200, but really, are they living? How much of their lives did they sacrifice to get to an age where they're just old and they've got a lot of wealthy stuff? That's ultimately what will happen. They'll just collect things and, have more birthdays, more Christmases. But every day could be your birthday. Every day could be a celebration. It's not possible to expect this in the world as we live today. There's no ways you can keep your day job and really be present. You're part of Chronos, you're part of the sun worship. And a lot of Christians, you're not following the teachings of Jesus. It's as simple as that. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're not following them. Someone's got to say it. There are more of us saying it, and I'll say it. You can be Christian, but that doesn't make you a follower of Jesus. For us to really embrace the life Jesus showed us by example means you got to throw your watch away. Throw them away. Stop looking at the schedule. Now, I'm not saying don't plan things because there's nothing wrong in putting a list together of the to-dos, but putting expectations on how long they will be is just setting yourself up for disappointment. I know that from my experience in this project of City of Light, where we gave ourselves a time period to say, okay, we will be able to start to be self-sufficient in a year, right? Now it's been a year and a half, and here I am, broke, moneyless, currencyless. I've got lots of money in land, all right? I've got lots of money in my time, in my attention. What is money? Look up what is real money. The money is not currency, not little numbers. It's not time, okay? Money is ideas, creativity, Monet, one eye, and we're doing it together. When last were you able to really connect with another human that time felt it dissolved? You could be with that human for hours just chatting, and you didn't even notice that it was the whole night. We've all been there, we've all touched it. God is in your life, or the creator of the universe is in your life, if you like it now or not. The only difference is you're very far away. Most of us are just very far away from the effects of it. And the closer you can get to the intention of God's will, the more you will experience the magic of life. And you'll experience more natural laws that will affect you. Go beyond your expectations, way beyond. It has for me. So thank you for this moment. I wanted to reveal that, even though he has a catch, right? Whatever's on your little ID document and says, okay, today you were born, and then this is the age you are. That is incorrect. They're actually wrong, guys, because they're using synodic time. They're using sun worshiping time. And that is meaning that it's adding that extra 4 minutes a day. 3 minutes 56 seconds to be exact. It just added. You didn't experience that. You didn't really experience that time. You were sleeping when that happened. They're trying to dictate that they know your consciousness. They know what your consciousness is. Are you going to let them tell you that? Are you going to let them tell you when is your birthday? Because they got the wrong time. If you turn 50 today, your real birthday is 50 days from today. Imagine that. That is the truth. 50 days from today. That's over a month from now. They don't have the right time. The statistics they're using is wrong. The algorithm is wrong. Okay? And that's the thing is either you're going to idolize a false god or you're going to live in the presence of God, the creator of all. So, love you. Thank you for listening. All the best.